Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jaya udiraye nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavate uttam shloke bhaktir bhavatir naishtike Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukham karoti vachanam pangam langite girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramanandam. Hare Krishna. So today we will be starting a new chapter in the third canto, chapter 16. Titled The Two Doorkeepers of Vaikuntha, Jay and Vijay, Cursed by the Sages. So the 15th chapter, it started with the meeting of the Devas, the demigods, with Brahma, glorifying him, inquiring from him about the reason for the disturbances. And in describing Brahma, he goes and describes it from the beginning. So essentially, this is the fall of the Jay and Vijay. So he describes Vaikuntha and the entry of the four Kumars in Vaikuntha, anxious and eager to see the Lord, and them crossing through the 6 gates, coming to the 7th gate, getting stopped over there by the 2 gods, Jay Vijay. Then the Kumars get angry and they curse the gods. The gods, they immediately beg forgiveness. And the Kumars also, their hearts begins to melt. And there is consternation at both ends. The gods are apprehensive that they have inadvertently insulted the Brahmanas. And the Kumaras are anxious that they have cursed the devotees of the Lord, who may have been faultless. So while all this is happening, the Lord arrives along with Lakshmi Devi and Garud and gives darshan to the 4 Kumars. We see the transformation of the 4 Kumars from impersonalists to devotees of the personal form, and the chapter concludes with prayers of the Kumars to the Lord. So we now will start with the 16th chapter. So the 16th chapter will continue with the Lord speaking to the 4 Kumars. He continues to apologize to them for the conduct of his guard. He glorifies the Brahmanas. And then in the next set of verses, we see the confusion in the Kumars. That is the Lord happy with them, unhappy with them? Is he praising them? Is he criticizing them? And in this mode, they once again speak to the Lord, frankly admitting their own inability to understand the words of the Lord. And this is something that is that is noteworthy, because they are gyanis. Their their main thing is mental gymnastics, but even they are left bewildered by the words of the Lord. And then the Lord expertly, and towards the end of the chapter, he reconciles the situation, and everybody is happy. The four Kumars, the gods, the Lord, and the chapter ends with Brahma concluding the narration. Okay, verse 1, third canto, chapter 16, verse 1. Brahmavacha tadgranatam tesham muninam yogadharminam pratinnandya jagadedam vikuntanilya vibhuhi. Lord Brahma said, after thus congratulating the sages for the nice words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose abode is the kingdom of God, spoke as follows. So while we discuss this pastime, I wanted to take a little bit of a detour over here and speak briefly about the subject of Anartha Nivritti. And this is from Madhurya Kadamini. And the reason I'm speaking is because this pastime is actually used by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur there, amongst others, to explain the process of Anartha Nivritti. So he explains that there are 4 sources of anarthas: past sinful activities, past pious activities, offenses from the chanting of the holy name, and offenses that arise from the cultivation of bhakti. So these are the 5 sources of the offenses. When one is making spiritual advancement, there are 5 grades of the eradication of offenses. Or one might say there are 5 stages of Anartha Nivritti. The first stage is called Ekadesh Avartini. So literally it means that it affects one Anartha. And the analogy that is given is that when a cloth is torn, then the cloth is diminished, but it still exists. Or when a city is burnt, the city is affected, but the city is there. Somebody can still point and say, here is that city. So this is Ekadesh Avartini, the very first stage in Anartha Nivritti. Second stage is Bahudesha Avartini, which is pervasive, affecting many anarthas. So it is simply Ekadesh Avartini, but it is magnified to several anarthas. So it is more pervasive. The third stage is Praiki. Praiki is where the anarthas are almost completely destroyed, but not completely. There are still traces of it. The fourth stage is called Purna, where they are completely destroyed. And the fifth stage is called Atyantik. Atyantik is called absolute, where not only are they completely destroyed, but there is no possibility of them reappearing. So the Ekadesh Avartini manifests at the stage of Bhajana Kriya. When a person is sincerely practicing devotional service, then one by one, the offenses begin to mitigate. And these offenses are mostly those that are arising from sinful activities. So offenses like envy of other, or stealing from other, or bad mouthing them. So the gross offenses that arise from sinful activities, they begin to get uprooted. The the Bahudesha Avartini, which is affecting many anarthas, that stage happens at Nishtha. And offenses that are arising from sinful activities are completely gone at that time. And offenses that are arising from namaprad or bhakti, they are also purna. They are also completely gone at this stage. Then when one goes to the higher stages, then the offenses, the eradication of the offenses is praiki, which is almost complete. And finally, when one is at the stage of prema, the offenses are eradicated to the extent of purna, that they are completely gone. And when one attains the Lord, then it is atyantik. There is absolutely no possibility of them reappearing. So the reason that I was talking about this is because Jay and Vijay had attained the Lord. So one can understand that they had reached the stage of atyantik, which means that there was no question of offenses reappearing in them. So Vishwanath Chakravarti says that the apparent offenses of Jay and Vijay was a manifestation of their personal desire to serve the Lord, stimulated by prema. So they had prayed to the Lord as follows: "O Lord, you desire to fight, but we do not see a suitable opponent for you. All those available are weak. Though we are strong, we are not inimical to you. Somehow or other, make us inimical to you, and realize your desire to fight. We, being your faithful servants, cannot tolerate to see any lack whatever in your perfection. Diminish the quality of affection for your devotees and fulfill our prayers." So the more guhyam artha, the more deeper meaning of the pastime is being revealed in Madhurya Kadamni by Vishwanath Chakravarti. And he says this is in the same category as the offense of Maharaj Chitraketu to Lord Shiva and Parvati Devi. That the offense was only, it was apparent but not real. And the fact it is apparent because both as a demon, Vritasur, and as an associate of the Lord, he did not ever lose his prema for the Lord, as is evidenced by his realization. Now the four Kumaras, they had not reached the stage of attaining the Lord. They had not reached the stage of prema. So they were in the, so they were sadhakas, and they had reached one of the higher stages of sadhana. So one can understand that while almost all their offenses were gone, but only at the stage of prema or Krishna Prapti, the annihilation of the offenses are complete. So based on this, one can understand that there is a greater probability of the four Kumaras carrying anarthas within them than the gods. So this is a point that um, uh, making from a more philosophical perspective, but we'll also see it develop in this chapter in a more subtle way. Well, it in words between phrases and by nuances. Okay, verse 2. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Etav Tav Pashado Mahiyam Jayo Vijaya Evacha Kadarthi Krityamaham Yadvo Bhavakratam Atikramam. The personality of God had said, these attendants of mine, Jay and Vijay by name, have committed a great offense against you because of ignoring me. So he's also introducing them, because the four Kumaras never had a formal introduction with the gods. They just came, the gods stopped them, they cursed the gods, and they were upset. So now Krishna is saying their name is Jay and Vijay. So in 11 verses, from this verse 2 to verse 12, we will see the Lord assuring the Kumaras that they should not be apprehensive that they have committed an offense. So specifically in the first 4 verses, from 2 to 5, the Lord will indicate that he is actually approving the punishment given by the 4 Kumars. And here he is summarizing the reason why he is approving it. He says, Yat, that these two Mayam, my attendants, they have committed an offense against you by Kadarthi Krityamam me, that by actually ignoring me. So they are actually an offender not only to you, but also to me. So Prabhupada in the purport says that committing an offense at the feet of the devotee of the Lord is very, very dangerous, very, 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 very wrong. And even a living entity promoted to Vaikuntha, there is a chance that they may commit offenses. But the difference is that when one is in Vaikuntha planet, even if by chance one commits an offense, he is protected by the Lord. This is the remarkable fact in the dealings of the Lord and the servitor. The word atikramam used herein indicates that in offending a devotee, one neglects the Supreme Lord himself. So in Vaishnav aparad, one of the interpretation of the word aparad is aparadhika, is going against the desire and will of Srimati Radharani. Srimati Radharani is also the personification of bhakti. So Prabhupada also comments that the Lord is actually benevolent to both. He is minimizing the offenses by the Kumars because of their motivation. that they were eager to see him. And because their ability to see the Lord was inhibited, they became angry. And Prabhupada says that, that Krishna is so attracted to one who is attracted to him, that if for some reason the person is not able to reach Krishna, Krishna reaches him. So this is the famous statement made that you take one step, Krishna takes 10 steps. So even if the reason is within us. Now here we see that the Kumars, they were stopped by the gods. And Krishna quickly came to meet them. Because the Kumars were eager to meet him. They were stopped for some reason. And Krishna quickly came to meet him. When we try to meet Krishna, sometimes we are stopped by our own mind and our own offenses. And Krishna, he does not wait for them to go away. He also, he's anxious, he quickly comes in and begins to meet us. Prabhupada also gives the example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that Haridas Thakur was not allowed to enter the temple of Jagannath. And what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu do? Every day, he would visit Haridas Thakur carrying Mahaprasad of Jagannath. So Haridas Thakur got two benefits. He got darshan of Mahaprabhu every day, and he got Mahaprasad of Jagannath every day. So Prabhupada also mentions that it is significant that when the Lord came to visit, or Lord came to see what was going on, he came along with Lakshmi Devi. And Lakshmi Devi is rarely seen by ordinary people. But the Lord, he was so kind that he was saying, not only are you going to get my darshan, but you will also get the darshan of the goddess of fortune. Verse 3. Yastvaitayo drito dando bhavadbirmam anuvratahi sa evanumatosmabhi munayo devahelanat. O great sages, I approve of the punishment that you who are devoted to me have meted out to them. So what is the Lord saying? That having seriously committed an offense against you by not acting as desired by me, they have actually offended me. Devahelana. The punishment that I should have given them has been given by you. So this is approved because eva anuvrata, because you are dedicated to me with vows, which means that what you say is good enough for me. Or putting it differently, your words, because you're dedicated to me by the vows that you take. So vows means that you promise to do something and you do it. That's a vow. So at the essence of the vow is the fact that you do not speak a lie. When you say that I will do something, you do it, you are truthful. So Krishna is saying that because you are dedicated to me with vows, I will not make your words come untrue. You are true to your words when you're dealing with me. So in reciprocation, I will also make sure that your words do not come untrue. Okay, next verse 4. Tadvaha prasadyamyadya brahmadevam param himi tadhityatmakritam manye yatsva pumbira satkritaha. To me, the Brahman is the highest and most beloved personality. This disrespect shown by my attendants has actually been displayed by me because the doormen are my servitors. I take this to be an offense by myself. Therefore, I seek your forgiveness for the incident that has arisen. So we see the sweetness of the Lord over here, and also the humility. So sometimes what happens is that if somebody has offended somebody, and the person is saying that, how could you have offended me? And the other person comes and he also starts chastising the person. How could you have offended him? This is so disrespectful of you. You're a rascal. Then essentially what is happening is that the person is distancing himself from the situation. It's like I remember once, many years ago, um, we had gone. We were in India, and we were eating in a restaurant. So we had explicitly asked them to cook without onion garlic, and some mistake was made. The person cooked, and there was onion in it. And we called the manager, and we said we'd asked for no onion. And the manager immediately called the waiter in front of us. He started cursing at him, yelling and screaming at him. And we were kind of, we felt, we started defending the waiter. So we were like, don't worry about us. It's not a big thing. And manager after that just walked away. So basically he distanced himself from the whole situation, did nothing to appease us, yelled on the waiter and walked away. So here Krishna, in the last set of verses, he has been saying that yes, an offense has been committed, but he wants to make sure that he does not distance himself from the offense. He wants to show that he is taking complete accountability of the of what has happened. So that is why he says that just as a master is responsible for any good qualities that are there in the servant, also responsible for bad qualities and bad conduct. So whatever fault that they have committed is actually my fault. And he's saying, therefore, I seek your forgiveness. Srila Prabhupada in the purport, because Krishna develops this theme about the Brahman is the highest and most beloved personality. And the Kumaras being Brahmins, Krishna is glorifying them by association. So Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he speaks a little bit about Brahmins. And he says, Krishna is famous, Go Brahmanaya Tayacha, for being favorable to Brahmanas and cows. But he's saying it is important to note that the Brahmanas that are being glorified here are devotee Brahmins or Vaishnavas. They should never be misunderstood for the Smarta Brahmins, those who are born in Brahmanical families but do not have Brahmanical qualifications. And now what about the devotee Brahmins? Devotee Brahmins, Krishna is glorifying to the extent he says that the real Brahmins are the ones who worship him. And Prabhupada quotes the Rig Veda, where it is stated that those who are actually Brahmins always look to the lotus feet of the Lord Vishnu. So this is a famous prayer that we do before we start our deity worship. Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam Sada Pashanti Surya. So this is from the Padma Puran, glorifying the Brahmanas as those who are who are constantly looking to worship the lotus feet of the Lord. So Prabhupada then specifically says that Brahmana means Vaishnav, and Vaishnav means Brahmana. And he gives a formula to explain it. He says the formula is Brahma Janiti Brahmana, which means that a Brahman is one who understands the Brahman. Since a Vaishnav understands Krishna, and Brahman is a part of Krishna, a Vaishnav is automatically a Brahman. Actually, more than a Brahman. Okay, I'll do one more verse, and after that we can pause for discussion. Yannama nichagranati loko vrityakritagasi so sadhu vadas tatkirtim hanti tvacham ivamayaha. A wrong act committed by a servant leads people in general to blame his master, just as a spot of white leprosy on any part of the body pollutes all the skin. So one may question that how is it possible for the Lord to commit an offense? And even if the Lord does commit an offense, who can punish the Supreme Lord? So Krishna explains that the offense of the servants are as good or as bad as offenses committed by him. And the punishment that he gets is infamy. So the fame of a master is destroyed by a servant who performs sinful activities, because the actions of a master are in the name, actions of the servant is in the name of the master. So similarly, just as a white leprosy, a dot of white leprosy destroys the skin. So the skin represents the unblemished reputation of the Lord, and the white spot is the offense of the servant. So the person has so much skin covering the body, but if he has one spot of leprosy, the person will look at him and say, this person has leprosy. He will not look at the 99.9% of the skin that is free of blemishes. He will just look at that one white spot and say that this person is leprosy. Similarly, Krishna is saying that just one offense from my servant is enough to destroy my kirti. It will cause kirti. Prabhupada actually in the purport says that this is an important realization for devotees, because when they're acting as a representative of the Lord. And when they act in an inappropriate way, then they're actually discrediting the Lord. Srila Prabhupada would always talk to his disciples that they should act like the perfect gentleman, that they should be careful not to offend anybody, not just devotees, but anybody. It's this thing that wherever you go, you're representing me and Krishna. Okay, let me pause here, see if there is any discussion.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, just a question about the anatta nivritti. You said that at the stage of prema, all the anatta is completely destroyed. And then at the fifth stage, that means the fourth stage, at the fifth stage is absolutely eradicated. At that point, the devotee attains the Lord. This is what you said, no?
So at the fifth stage, there is no possibility of the anarthas reappearing.
or reappear. Mhm. Okay. Yeah. That means this is a long process of eradication of anatta. I mean, even at prema, it's still there.
It stays with
Somehow
us.
or
Stays with us for a long time, because ultimately it's because of that we have come here. So it stays with us for a long time.
thank you, Guru.
Thank you. Okay. If there are no more questions, we can go to verse 6. Yasyamritamla yashashravana vayaglaha sadya punati jagata vapaschad vikuntha swaham bhavadbhaya uplabdha sutirtha kirtish Chindayam subahum apiva pratikula vrittim. Anyone in the entire world, even down to the Chandal, who lives by cooking and eating the flesh of the dog, is immediately purified. If he takes bath in hearing through the ear, the glorification of my name, fame, etc. Now you have realized me without doubt. Therefore, I will not hesitate to lop off my own arm if its conduct is found hostile to you. So Krishna is glorifying himself in this verse to talk about what is at stake over here. Previous verse, he talked about how the offenses of his servants can impinge on his kirti, on his reputation. So the Kumaras may ask, what reputation are you talking about? And he's saying this reputation of mine, that my just by hearing my name, or just by hearing about my pastimes, even the most sinful person, a person who lives by eating the flesh of a dog, he gets purified. That's my kirti. That is the one that will get blemished. Then the Kumaras might ask that you are in the previous verse, you said that the Brahmanas are worshipable by you. But we know that we have been created by you. So how can we become greater than you? How can offenses to us get you infamy? And how can our pleasure get you fame? So in 2 verses 6 and 7, the Lord will explain this, essentially saying that the reason that he is famous is because of the Brahmanas. So what is his yash? Yash is the purification of his Namaru Gunadi. And what is the apyash? The apyash is that if the devotees of the Lord misbehave, then people in general will say, look, this is how the devotees of the Lord act. So they will lose faith in the devotees and they will lose faith in the Lord. Now, Krishna can never be contaminated. He's independent. But what this will do is that it will impinge on his ability to inspire bhakti. So how does he inspire bhakti in others? Through his devotees. Again, in Madhuri Kadamni, Vishwanath Chakravarti makes this point, that devotion only comes from devotees, not from Krishna. So when people begin to lose faith in the devotees, then this ability to inspire bhakti will get mitigated. And because this is something that is very, very dear to Krishna, the ability to inspire bhakti in the jivas, when that is impinged, he considers this as a personal failing. So this is how Krishna is logically saying that if my devotees were to insult the brahmanas, other people would observe it. They will lose faith in the devotees, and thus they will lose their ability to make spiritual advancements. And because instilling bhakti in my devotees is very dear to me, I will consider this as a failure. So because bhakti in his devotees is greater than Krishna, that is why he says that brahmanas are greater than me. And how much is he willing to sacrifice? He says that I will cut off my own limb. There are two meanings of that. One is Vishwanath Chakravarti reveals it later on, a little bit of hidden meaning, that he considers Jay and Vijay to be as good as his own limbs, because they are his personal attendants, they are his pure devotees, close associates. So he is indicating over here that he's willing to cut them off. The second meaning is that the object of my identity as I is I'm willing to consider that to be compromised. So a person without the limbs is a compromised person. He's an incomplete person. So Krishna is making this point that I will consider myself to be incomplete if I were to tolerate such an offense. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, he talks about the first part of the verse, the potency of Krishna's Nam, Roop, and Katha Adi, and he says that it is potent enough. He quotes from the NOI verse 6, that a person who is taken to Krishna consciousness, then all his past defects are becoming inconsequential. In fact, it is an offense to consider a person of low birth or devotee to be of low birth, because all that is irrelevant. Okay, verse 7. Yat sevaya charana padma pavitra renu sadaya krishatikala malam pratiludashilam no shrir viraktam apimam vihati yasya preksalavartha itare niyaman vahanti. The Lord continued, because I am the servitor of my devotees, my lotus feet have become so sacred that they immediately wipe out all sins that I have acquired such a disposition that the goddess of fortune does not leave me, even though I have no attachment for her. While others praise her beauty and observe sacred vows to secure from her even a slight favor. So continuous glorification of the devotees by the Lord, that that his fame potency. Krishna is famous for having so powerful energies, so many potencies. And the most powerful of that is his ability to 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 liberate a person. And he says, my lotus feet are so sacred that they immediately wipe out all sins. Why? Because I am the servitor of my devotees. So this point, this phrase, I am the servitor of my devotees, does not explicitly come in this verse, but the acharyas, they carry it over from the previous verse. The two verses are generally taken together. Another interesting thing to note in this verse is that while Krishna, he is talking about his intense attachment to his devotees, to the point that he's saying that I can lop off my arm for them. At the same time, he's talking about his indifference to another great devotee, which is Lakshmi Devi. And she is standing right next to him. And what does he say? He says that I have no attachment for her. And Lakshmi Devi is a very exalted devotee. So how do we understand this? So this needs a little bit of unwrapping. The first point that you will notice over here is that when Krishna says, or Lord Vishnu says, I have no attachment to Lakshmi Devi, while others praise her beauty and observe sacred vows to secure from her even a slight favor. So what are the kind of people who do this? These are materialistic people. People are looking for material opulence. So when Krishna is talking about he has no attachment, he is saying that he has no attachment to the aspect of Lakshmi Devi that grants material opulences. He is not talking about the aspect of Lakshmi Devi who is his pure devotee. So he talks about preksha lavartha. So artha is desire, is giving people material desires. Yes, he says he has no attraction for that form of Lakshmi Devi. And that form of Lakshmi Devi is so great in the material world that even personalities like Lord Brahma, they perform penances and they praise her beauty and they observe sacred vows to get her favor. So one may wonder that if Lakshmi Devi is standing right next to Lord Vishnu, does it mean that he also performed penances and did things to get the favor of her? So he's saying no. He did nothing to gain her favor. In fact, he's indifferent to her ability to grant material opulences. So then why is she staying next to him? So then he says that she's only staying next to me because of the qualities that are bestowed upon me by my service to the devotees. So essentially he's saying that Lakshmi Devi is attached to him not because he did anything to get that attachment. He did not observe vows, did not perform austerities, but yet she's attached to him. And the only reason that she's attached to him is because I serve my devotees. I have acquired the potency to wipe out all the sins of others because I serve my devotees. And because of this, Lakshmi Devi is attracted to me and she refuses to leave my sight. So this is essentially a glorification of the qualities of Lakshmi Devi. That those who observe vows and they attract Lakshmi Devi, the attraction is temporary. She is chapal, she comes and goes. But she herself is so attracted to devotees. She herself is so attracted to bhakti. And when she sees that the devotees are attracted to Krishna, and when she sees that Krishna is so merciful on his devotees, she cannot help herself but continuously stay on his side. So in this way, we can understand that this is a glorification ultimately of bhakti and also a glorification of the quality of Lakshmi Devi. Verse 8. Naham tathadmi yajamano havir vitane sachayo tadgrata pulatam madanhut prabhun mukhena yad brahmanasya mukhatas charato nugasham tustasya maya avater nijakarma pakahe. I do not enjoy the oblations offered by the sacrifices in the sacrificial fire, which is one of my own mouths, with the same relish as I do the delicacies overflowing with ghee, which are offered to the mouths of the Brahmins, who have dedicated to me the results of their activities and who are ever satisfied with my prasad. So, continuous glorification of the Brahmins. Previous verses were how the Brahmins empower the Lord. This verse, how the Brahmins are the source of his satisfaction and enjoyment. So it is not just empowerment, it is also happiness. That through the Brahmins he gets happiness. So when the yajnas are performed and the oblations are offered, then Krishna is the ultimate enjoyer. So he says that is one of his mouth. He accepts it out of a sense of duty. But then he says that the offering of grains and sweets overflowing with ghee that are offered to his devotee Brahmins, that he accepts with relish, because he eats through the mouth of the devotee Brahmins. So what does it mean to say that Krishna eats through the mouth of his devotees? So this is actually understood, Prabhupada explains it as a very intimate reciprocation that happens between the Lord and the devotees. So what do the devotees eat? They eat prasadam. What is prasadam? Prasadam is food that is offered to the Lord. So when the devotees see the Lord eat the bhoga, they become very happy that the Lord has eaten. And then they happily eat the remnants of what the Lord has eaten. And that is prasad. So when the Lord sees the devotees eating prasadam, when he sees them as happy, he becomes happy. So that's the understanding of that he's eating through the mouth of his devotees. The devotees do not eat anything unless it has been offered to the Lord. And because they immensely relish the remnants of what the Lord has eaten. And because the Lord becomes happy when he sees his devotees happy, so the understanding is that as the devotees are eating, the Lord is also eating. As the devotees are relishing, the Lord is also relishing. The Prabhupada said, the Lord also relishes giving to the Vaishnava mouth all eatables offered to him. So in the verse 17, it will be said that the Lord is the object of worship of the Brahmanas. So this point is made over here to again emphasize that this discussion is about Vaishnavas. So Prabhupada already established that Vaishnavas are automatically Brahmins because they have realized, or they are trying to realize the personality of Godhead, and Brahman is one of the included features there. Now on the flip side, so this is a quote from the Padma Puran where it is said, Swapakam iva niksheta loga vipram avaishnavam. That if a person is born in a Brahman family and is not a devotee, one should not see his face, exactly as one should not look upon the face of a dog eater. So this is the condemnation of Smarta Brahman, that a person is born in a Brahman family, but he is a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava could mean both, that he hates Vaishnava, or he is by his conduct not a Vaishnava. So Vishwanath Chakravarti says that there are Brahmins like Vasishta, where bhakti is mixed with dharma, mostly karma kand. But the feature that makes them favorable to the Lord is that whatever they do, there is a strong basis of bhakti. So he says they are not like Narad, where there is only bhakti, keval bhakti. Everything else is subservient to it. But he says bhakti is there. They are not Vaishnavas. And Prabhupada in the purport gives again the example of Haridas Thakur, this time in the context of Advaita Acharya. That there was a past time when Advaita Acharya had cooked and he had invited, and he insisted on giving the first dish to Haridas Thakur. And he said that by offering you, I'm getting the result of feeding 100,000 Brahmins. Why? Because Haridas Thakur was an exalted devotee of the Lord. Verse 9. Yesham vibramyaham akhanda vikunta yoga maya vibhuti amalangri raja kirtahi viprams tukona vishetayad aranambaha sadhya punatisa chandralalamaloka. I am the master of my unobstructed internal energy, and the water of the Ganges is the remnant left after my feet was washed. This water sanctifies the three worlds, along with Lord Shiva, who bears it on his head. If I can take the dust of the feet of the Vaishnavas on my head, who will refuse to do the same? So Lord Vishnu over here, he glorifies himself to establish the even more glorious position of the Brahmins. So how does he glorify himself? He says that I'm the master of my unobstructed internal energy. So he says, Aham Akhanda Vikunta Yogamaya. So what does this point to? The spiritual world. So Akhanda Vikunta Yogamaya, this is Vaikuntha. Yogamaya, wherever Yogamaya is there, his devotees are there. So he says, I'm the master of the spiritual world. And then he says, I'm the master of the material world also. How does he show that? That the water that has washed my feet, it sanctifies the three worlds. The upper, middle, and lower planetary system, they're all sanctified by the water of my feet. And Lord Shiva, who is the highest of the demigods, he accepts that water on his head. Lord Shiva is called as Chandralalama, one who has the moon on his forehead. He says that respectfully he takes the water of my lotus feet on his head. So essentially he's saying that I'm the master. Krishna is saying I'm the master of the material world and the spiritual world. And then what does he say? I take the dust of the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas on my head. If I do it, who will refuse to do the same? The point is making is, if I do it, then everybody should do it. If I do it, then Jay Vijay should definitely do it. So he is establishing the superlative position of the Brahmanas. So Prabhupada in the purport writes that Lord Vishnu is saying that he has the greatest respect for the Brahman and the Vaishnava. When the Lord himself offers so much respect to the Vaishnava and the Brahman, how can one deny such respect to such personalities? And this is again a demonstration of the reciprocation between the Lord and the devotees. So the devotees, Brahmins who are present in the material world, they are respectfully accepting the water of Ganges on their head. Or they go to Vrajdham and they pick up the Vrajdhuli and they sprinkle it on their head, thinking that Krishna has walked on this. So they are competing with the Lord to serve him, and the Lord is competing with the devotees to serve. Okay. Yeah, I'll do a few more verses and then a couple of verses, then we can stop for discussion. Verse 10. Yame tanurduja varando hatir madiya bhutanya labda sharanani cha bhed buddhya drakshantya gakshata drishohi manavyasta grida rushamam kushanti adidandanetuhu. The Brahmans, the cows, and the defenseless creatures are my own body. Those whose faculty of judgment has been impaired by their own sin look upon these as distinct from me. They are just like furious serpents, and they are angrily torn apart by the bills of the vulture-like messengers of Yamraj, the superintendent of sinful persons. So Krishna is now in a subtle way making this change, that those who do not respect the Brahmanas deserve to be punished. So far, he was glorifying the Brahmins. And he's saying because they are such glorious, those who do not accept them in this position they deserve to be punished. And he speaks harshly about such people, that they are like furious serpents and they deserve to be punished. So Prabhupada says that the defenseless creatures, according to the Bhagavatam, are the cows, the brahmanas, women, children, and old men. So the four Kumars, they appeared as 5-year-old children. So not only are they Brahmins, but they are actually children. Of these 5, the Brahmanas and the cows are specially mentioned in this verse because the Lord is always anxious about the benefit of the Brahmins and the cows and is prayed to in this way. Therefore, the Lord specially instructs that no one should be envious of these 5. What are the 5? The Brahman, the cows, women, children, and old men. And actually, at another place, Prabhupada says that at any place where people are envious of these 5, you can see that it will be a place where there is sin and suffering. So in addition to the Brahmins, Krishna is also speaking about cows and other defenseless creatures. So specifically, the point is that, or the point that is asked is that why is he attached? So there is some reason for which he could be attached to the Brahmins, some reason that he could be attached to the cows, but why is he attached to defenseless creatures like women and children and old men? So the explanation that is that is given is that he is not stipulating any devotion on their part. He's not saying that I'm attached to them because women, children, and old men are devoted to me. But he's stating the defenselessness as a quality that attracts them or attracts him to them. Why? Because when somebody is without defense, that means they are only dependent on the Lord, either explicitly or implicitly. So take children, for example. The children may not be aware even of the existence of the Lord, at least in manifest consciousness, but they're actually fully dependent on the Lord. If they are fed, they will eat. If they're not fed, they will starve. If they're kept in good conditions, they are happy. If they're kept in bad conditions, they are unhappy. So they have complete dependence on the Lord. And Krishna, by nature, reciprocates. He reciprocates by extending his protection. That is why there is such a strong and primeval desire to protect children. So it is said that I'm not sure how true it is, but somebody was telling me that even in prison houses, those people that abuse children, they are specially targeted for a lot of punishment. The other prisoners, they especially hate them. They themselves may be murderers or whatever, but they specifically target such people and punish them. So that desire to protect is actually coming from Krishna. Similarly, the respect for the old, the charity for the poor, and the attraction for the women. All this is coming because of the dependence on Krishna. So just like the souls reflect the quality of Krishna, Krishna has this quality of wanting to protect them, and that quality also reflects on in the jivas. And those who do not respect this sentiment, Krishna, he condemns them. He calls them serpents. Because the nature of the serpents is that they are envious for no reason. That because these five are defenseless, they do not pose a threat. But yet if somebody harms them, they're like serpents who bite people without being provoked. And because Krishna is angry at them through his agents, the Yamadutas, they are tormented and punished. Prabhupada also writes an interesting point in the purport. He says that nowadays some foolish persons have manufactured the term Daridra Narayan, indicating that the poor person should be accepted as a representative of Narayan. But in Vedic literature, we do not find that poor person should be treated as representatives of Narayan. Of course, those who are unprotected are mentioned here. But the definition of this phrase is clear from the Shastras. The poor man should not be unprotected. But the Brahmanas should specially be treated as representatives of Narayan and should be worshipped like him. So Prabhupada is talking, especially when around that time, this term Daridra Narayan was very, this term was actually coined by Swami Vivekananda, Daridra Narayan, and it was popularized by Mahatma Gandhi. So in the 50s, late 40s, 50s, even in the 60s, Daridra Narayan was the term that was used quite often. Not sure if it is still used. Okay. So I'll do one more verse and after that I'll pause. Ye brahmana mai diyakshipato churchiyantas tushya dridasmita sudhokshita padmavakrataha vanyanurag kalyat majavat grantaha Sambodhayantyaham ivaham upartaste. On the other hand, they captivate my heart, who are gladdened in heart and who, their lotus faces, enlightened by nectarian smiles, respect the Brahmins. Even though the Brahmins utter harsh words, they look upon the Brahmins as my own self and pacify them by praising them in loving words, even as a son would appease an angry father, or as I am pacifying you. So the Brahmanas have glorious qualities. They are quiet and peaceful and offering all respects. But what if a Brahman is not acting like a Brahman and speaks harsh words? So Krishna says that Brahmanan Kshipata, that even if they speak harsh word, Archayanta, that they should be worshipped, but they should be respected. And Tushyatrida. So with gladdened hearts, not just externally, but one from the heart should worship them, and Padma Vaktra, with lotus-like faces. And Ukshita Smita Sudha, and smile saturated with sweetness. And Anurag Kalyavanya, words filled with love. So essentially, Krishna is saying that by your body, by your words, and by your mind, one should continue to respect the Brahmins even if they are angry. Just like a son appeases an angry father. Because it is relatively easy to respect another in congenial environments. And we see that in devotee settings also. That as long as it's Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji, everything is okay. But you're doing services together, and there is confusion about what service to do. Is the other person doing the service properly? Should he be doing it or not? Then it's different. The Prabhuji is still there, Mataji is still there, but the rest of the sentences become different. So the real test comes under adverse condition. And that's what Krishna is talking about. That Brahmanan Kshipata, that even if they're speaking harsh words, and he's saying not just clench your teeth and say that Hare Krishna Prabhu, Hare Krishna Brahman. He says by your body, your words, and your smile. Ukshita Smita Sudha, that your smile should be saturated with sweetness. Tushyatrita, from inside you should be happy. And Anurag Kalaya Vanya, and speaking words filled with Anurag, filled with love. So because this is a stronger proof of one's regard to the Brahmins, Krishna's reciprocation is also stronger. So what does he say here? He says, for such person, aham upartatahi, that I am controlled by such persons. So he gives them a position even higher than himself, because they are doing something that is very, very dear to Krishna. That in adverse circumstances, they're continuing to respect the desires of Krishna by serving the Brahmins. So this is also an indication of the specific situation at hand. That the Kumaras were Brahmins, but they were angry. So Lord Vishnu is saying that, Jai Vijay may say, of course they won't, but they may say that they were not acting like Brahmins. They're angry, they're cursing. Brahmins are not supposed to get angry. So Krishna is saying, even if they get angry, then one should still continue to, my expectation is that one should still continue to deal with them with utmost love and respect. Okay. I'll also do the next verse because it's a logical break, and then after that we'll stop. Verse 12. Tanme svabhartur avashayam alakshamano yusmad gatikram gatim pratipadya sadhyaha bhuya mamankitam itan tadanugraho me yad kalpatam achirato vratayor vivashaha. These servants of mine have transgressed against you, not knowing the mind of their master. I shall therefore deem it a favor done to me if you order that, although reaping the fruit of their transgressions, they may return to my presence soon, and the time of their exile from my abode may expire before long. So in conclusion, Krishna is making the same point that he spoke in verse 2, that these attendants of mine have committed a great offense against you by ignoring me. Same point he's making here, and he is modifying it a little bit. So I wanted to quickly go through Krishna's how Krishna has developed the nature of the offense. So in the 4th verse, he says, to me the Brahmanas are the highest and the most beloved personalities. Then in verse 6 and 7, he says that I have immense potencies. But my potencies are only there because I am a servitor of the Brahmanas. And they not only serve me, they're also a source of my satisfaction and enjoyment. Remember that verse, full of ghee? That's the verse 8. So in the 9th verse, he says that if I hold the Brahmans in such high regard, then everyone, especially my servants, should also do the same. So the focus is now on Jai Vijay, or the acts of Jai Vijay. And even if the Brahmins give up their gentle behavior, they should still be pacified with love. This is the previous verse. So the focus is now on the specific situation that the Brahmins, they acted in an angry mood. Those who do not do so are like furious serpents and deserve to be punished. So in verse 10, Jay and Vijay have clearly acted against my own nature and desire and offended you. So here, Lord Vishnu is explicitly confirming the points that he was philosophically making. He was describing a situation. Now he is instantiating it, saying that yes, this has actually happened. He says that in verse 12, this verse, and again the 2nd verse. The master, or I am accountable for all the actions of my servants. So he makes this point 3 times in verse 4, 5, and 12. So therefore, I support your punishment to them, the cursing of Jay and Vijay, and also ask for your forgiveness. 3 times Krishna asks for their forgiveness, verses 3, 4, and 12. And then Krishna cannot help it. He shows his Bhakti Vatsalya bhav. And he says, they may return to my presence soon, and the time of their exile from my abode may expire before long. So here we see Krishna in full glory of his affection to his devotees. That he has made this, he has methodically gone through the process of indicating the nature of the offense committed by Jay and Vijay. And he has acknowledged the righteousness of them being punished. But then what does he say? That please make it so that they come back to me soon. So it's like a child has committed some mischief. He's gone to the neighbor's house and broken the windows there, and the neighbor comes and complains, and then the mother chastises the child. How could you do this? You should not do that. And then at the same time, the mother is protecting the child. That's okay. He will not do it. I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. He sees the child is scared. She sees the child is crying, and she's at the same time protecting the child. And we see that in Krishna over here. And Prabhupada talks about this, that he says that we can understand how anxious the Lord is to get his servitor back to Vaikuntha. Then this also proves that once somebody has entered Vaikuntha, can never fall down. So remember when we talked about the anarthas, that one has attained the Lord, and there is no chance of fall down. So Prabhupada says that the case of Jay and Vijay is not a fall down, it's an accident. The fall down is a one-way street. An accident is just an accident. It happens, but one gets over it. The fact that the Jay and Vijay will very soon come back to him. Okay, so I'll stop over here and see if you have any thoughts or discussion.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, I also heard that this pastime is also orchestrated by Vishnu himself, that, that he wanted to satisfy, accomplish many things in one time. One is the Lakshmi Devi's desire to be alone with him or something like that. I'm forgetting the pastime fully. And then the second is he wants to exercise his own um, what do you call fighting spirit, whatever spirit, and then that's another thing. So can you please elaborate on that? Is that something that is given in Bhagavatam or some other Purana, or are you aware of that?
Yeah. Did you come late to the class by any chance?
Yes, Prabhu. I was little late actually.
Oh, because we actually discussed this in the earlier part of the class. This is
I see.
This is in Madhurya Kadamini, where Vishwanath Chakravarti, when he discusses the nature of offenses, he discusses this pastime that Jay and Vijay, they pray to Lord Vishnu that you desire to enjoy in this Virya Bhav, chivalry. But no one in the material world is strong enough to fight you. So please make it so that we can go there, we develop an inimical mood to you, and we give you an opportunity to enjoy in combat. So that's understanding. I'm not sure if this is in the Bhagavatam. I don't remember reading it in the Bhagavatam. I think this is either derived from some other Purans or somewhere else. The source of it is Vishwanath Chakravarti writes it in Madhurya Kadamini, but he does not give the source of it. Okay. Any other questions, thoughts?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. When the four Kumaras came to Vaikuntha, before they become a pure devotee, they were impersonalist Brahmana. Okay, and after that they become pure devotee after spelling the incense from the tulsi leaf, lotus feet of Lord Vishnu Krishna. That means initially they were impersonalists. Okay, and now for us now, even Srila Prabhupada, he always complain about the impersonalists. In a way, he always chastise them in a way. And what about us now? In this verse, we are seeing that Krishna is glorifying them even before they were impersonalists. And now, how do we take this?
We can take it in a couple of ways. So the four Kumars were Brahmavadis, they were not Mayavadis. So Srila Prabhupada is more heavy. He's heavy on the Brahmavadis, but he's really heavy on the Mayavadis. So the Brahmavadis are attracted to Brahman, the impersonal aspect of the Lord, but they don't deny the personal aspect. They're just attracted to them. The Mayavadis, they deny the personal aspect. They say that we will become God when we merge with the Lord. Brahmavadis have no such understanding. They don't have those aspirations. So that's one point. The second point that is made, and this was made in the previous chapter, that the Gyan of the four Kumaras had a very strong component of bhakti in it. So they were not mental speculators. So in the Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter, and I think it's the 15th or the 16th verse, Chaturvidha bhajante mam yejana purya pasate, then it talks about Gyani. The Gyanis are the four Kumars. And next two verses, Krishna says, I'm especially fond of them. Not because they're mental speculators. The mental speculators are the Jigyasurs. But he's especially fond of them because they come to the Lord in knowledge. So this is Gyan Mishra Bhakti. Third reason is, and this was again discussed in the previous chapter, that the four Kumars received the mercy of their father and their brother. So they received the benediction from Lord Brahma, and they received the mercy of Narad Muni. So both of them said, you will get devotion. So they had the mercy of the Lord's devotees. So because of all this, when they approached Vaikuntha, the Lord allowed them to enter. Because you can't enter Vaikuntha based on your yogic powers. They were yogis, they were powerful yogis for sure, but you can't enter Vaikuntha based on the powers of your yoga. You can only enter if the Lord allows you to enter. So because of all these reasons, the Lord allows them to come. And because of these reasons, he is also extending his mercy on them.
Thank you. But we also should be very careful, no? Not to offend any Brahmana, even if they're not following ISKCON or.
That indeed is one of the lessons that we should take away. That sometimes we are like Jekyll and Hyde, we turn to devotees, Hare Krishna Prabhu, how can I serve you? We turn to others and we say, get out of my way. So we have to be careful. Like, you never know who has Krishna's favor, and it's one of the things that Prabhupada would insist on, and he showed it by example also. When especially when he was doing programs, pandal programs, when he was dealing with masses, people would misbehave. And as far as possible, until the devotees were not being harmed, he was very, very gentle, very respectful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so if there are no more questions, we can stop here. Achyuta, you have something to contribute?
Yeah, Prabhuji, I was just thinking, last you mentioned that towards the end you mentioned that it's if one time if it is it can be if one time there's a mistake, it can be considered um, as a mistake, and and then if it is repeated, then it is a fall down, something like that, right? Just but then for us it's like it's never one time. It's like sometimes it keeps we make the same mistakes again and again. So just wondering like how to understand whether it's a mistake or a fall down. And
I think you explained it, that if it is a mistake, it is it immediately results in regret and a desire to correct. If it is fall down, it is pervasive, like you said, it's again and again. So that is more pervasive. Srila Prabhupada specifically uses the word accident. That accidents happen because you're inattentive. So there's some culpability in the accident. You're driving on the road, you're inattentive, you make a wrong turn, accident happens. So you have responsibility for it. But understanding is you walk away from the accident, you're more careful driving, follow the rules better, and your driving record is expunged, everything is reinstated. But fall down is pervasive. That you have an accident and then you say it's not really my fault and hit somebody else also, and then say it's not my fault and actually it's the other person's fault. And instead of regretting it, you basically consider it as normal or justify it, That's a fault. That, that is more of our situation. We are in a situation where, or at least speaking about myself, that the regret is not there, and the regret of turning your back to Krishna, regret of offending him and his devotees. That regret is not there in the heart. Maybe it's there in the mind, but it's not there in the heart. That's the characteristic of a follower.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Govindu bhaiya. Vanchakalpatarubhayaschet kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hai Gaur Premanand. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare
Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna.